All right, so we are ready now to actually start adding color. So right here, after the cross hatching, the hair, and the line work, this is what I've come up with. So this is what it looks like without the photograph. And now we are ready to, in a sense, paint. Um, so right here, if we remember, so we see this double circle with a mouse cursor. It's called the shape builder tool. If we click and hold on to that, then we have the paint bucket, or K on the keyboard. Um, and we can see right here, just kind of recap that it will highlight red exactly, like a red outline, exactly what would be colored in. So if I were to color, um, if I were to color this in, I'm just gonna pick a color over here. If I were to color this in this color, just that area would turn that color. Now, if you notice here too, so we're going to go over a couple things before we start painting. So that's kind of one of them. This is kind of like a generalized thing. Right here, we see that it'll paint in the lips, maybe even some of the hair too, because there's gaps in the in your line work or the information. So there's nothing to close that off. But now if we come over here and we see like, oh, we want to paint this neck area, nothing, we see no red line like we do over here. Same with the background. So what you would need to do right there, so I'm going to undo the paint work that I just did. Sometimes the bigger the file, bigger the image and all that, the slower, especially on these computers, Illustrator will run. But what we need to do is right here, there's, even though we have what looks like a border right here for our page size, as far as the program is concerned, there is no border linking our live paint group right here. So if we just scroll all the way down, we see this live paint group. So that's all this information. There is no border linking that with the rest of this information. So what you need to do is click over on your rectangle tool. So we click on that and we want no fill. So that's your top one. It's a little bit different than Photoshop. So we're going to click on the red slash and then we're going to hit X to, this is called your stroke. So in Photoshop, it's your foreground swatch, your background swatch. In Illustrator, it's your fill and your stroke. And we don't want any fill or stroke. I will show you what, so if I were to make a box, I'll even up the stroke here, you can see that I have a box with the fill of that color and a black border. And that's what that is. So the black border is your stroke, and the greenish bluish color, the aqua color, is your fill. So that's what it would in a sense look like. So what we want is no fill or stroke because we want to be able to link. Okay. So we're going to have, and then I'm going to hit X again. So now I'm going to try to make a rectangle about the size of this page. And if I were to click, or if I were to go to select and then deselect or shift control A, we don't see that box. So it's almost as if it doesn't actually exist. But now if I hit control A or go to select and then all, we see that now we still have that box. And right here, we see a little thing that says merge live paint. So that is the first thing that we want to do. We want to select all, make sure that your photograph is turned off. because if it's turned on, you will not be able to merge the live paint. We do not want, here, if I turn it on and then hit Control A, you can see that the merge live paint is no longer there. It's because this photograph is not part of your paint group. So we just want our lines and this box. And then if we hit merge live paint, again, this may take a little while because of the file being so big. All right, so I know with these computers especially, it may take a little while. Just kind of wait it out. Make sure maybe you save it right before you were to do something like that, just in case if it crashes. But we can see over here now, if you remember, we saw like all these lines, and then we saw the live paint group, but now it is all kind of one group. So now if we were to go to select and then deselect, and then we were to go to our live paint, we see that now we can actually paint in the background. We can paint in the chest area, the other part of the jacket, stuff like that. So that's a very key thing to do. Now what we need to do, we can actually close this layer 2. We want to make a copy of this layer. So this is the key thing in order to continue with the written tutorial, but yet still have it print and look nice. So we don't see those hairline fractures. And you'll notice them after we do a step coming up here soon, that those hairline fractures will come back. And that's not what that's what we don't want. So in order to make a copy, I know in Photoshop it is Control J. I actually don't know the keyboard shortcut for Illustrator, but another shortcut is another one that's similar to Photoshop. If you drag this layer down to the new layer icon, so if you can see where my cursor is at, I'm going to click on the layer, hold with my left mouse click, hold it until I get to the new layer icon. We see a plus symbol. I let go, and now there's a copy. So I can even turn off the middle one and maybe work on the layer 2 copy. From here, I would suggest let's go ahead and save. So go File and then Save, just in case. And then we have, and when that is finished saving, we will start to paint. Okay, so that's finished saving. And then if right here, if we click over here, we see our swatches. So if we click on this, probably most of you will see the same thing. Maybe you won't, but we see that we don't have any swatches. But that is okay. I'll show you how to load the swatches. There's a bunch of preset swatches inside Illustrator. So if we click on this little paragraph symbol, if you can see where my cursor is at, and we click on that and we go down to Open Swatch Library, and then we come over here to Default Swatches, and then Print. So now we see a bunch of colors there. The other thing that you may notice, there may not be that many good skin tone colors in this collection. So what you can do is go to that same spot, go to Open Swatch Library again, and then go to Skin Tones. And then it'll open up right here. We can see the 2 tabs. And then this one, you see there's just a lot more options. You may not find the perfect one, but there's a lot more options. Now, what I would recommend doing, because it'll default to putting it right in the middle of your screen, I like to put it back in with my other swatches. So if I click on it and I hold down with the left mouse click and I go until it highlights this square that's open, blue, and then let go, now they're within that. So now all my swatches and all this stuff is in right over here. So, and now you're pretty much ready. You can pick a color that you want to use. You can use if you want to try to use your background layer to maybe almost like color match and stuff like that. You could even try using your eyedropper tool or eye on the keyboard. So if you're to click on that and then maybe try to click in an area of the photograph, not the line drawing, we can see right here that it gave us at least one of the pixels that I picked is this color for the skin. So now if I were to go back to the live paint, I could go in there and maybe try to add that color. Now, as far as shading goes, that will come in later. So we can see it's a little bit more of a pasty looking color. And it is up to you whether or not you think that color works and all that. You can do it without the photograph on. It's up to you. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of continue painting this, and then we'll continue this in the next step.